ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। ओम नमो भगवते रुद्राय। विज्यं धनुः कपर्दिनो विशल्यो बाणवागुम् उत अनेशन्नस्येषव आभुरस्य निषङ्गति। Padacheda is like this. Vijyam dhanuh kapardinah vishalyah bhanavan uta aneshan asya ishavah abhuh asya nishangatihi. We have seen the representation of Rudra as the punitive aspect of that higher power. You see, in our lives, in a person's life, there is a personal order and then there is a supra-personal order. Both we experience. Personal order means I do things as per my will, what they call free will and all that. For example, I take the breakfast of my choice. I drive the car to a place of my liking, like that. This is the personal order. But then there is a supra-personal order. The order because of which or by which the sun rises and sets, etc. And this supra-personal order interferes with the personal order. If the supra-personal order favors the personal order, it is called a blessing. And if it disfavors, it is called punitive or punishing. Therefore, this person created out of this personal order, the person is a product of personal order. You are a person only when you desire this or that. So, that person created out of this personal order, he looks at the supra-personal order as another person and then tries to derive a blessing from that supra-personal order. And therefore, that is what is called the God blessing us, the grace of the Lord. That is how these are the words used. All these words are an expression of our wish that the supra-personal order should favor us. But then it is there in our experience that the supra-personal order does favor us. It seems to favor all. Whether they pray, those who pray also, it seems to favor. Those who do not pray also, it seems to favor. It seems to have its own dynamic, the supra-personal order. And then the supra-personal order disfavors or punishes the person. That is also in our experience. And therefore, there is always a prayer which is originating out of this experience of punishment given by the supra-personal order. Out of a sense of fear or insecurity, we pray to that higher power not to punish us. And this you have already seen in the mantras that have gone by. And in these mantras, that punitive aspect of the supra-personal order is visualized as a person called Rudra, named very significantly, the significant name, meaning the one who makes you cry. Rodayati iti Rudraha. And so gives punishment and makes us cry. That Rudra, so he must, once the idea of punishment is there, then the idea of weapons is not far away. Therefore, he holds a few weapons. And the primary weapon is archery, where you can punish a person from a distance. Whereas weapons like sword or mace, etc., You have to go and go very close to the person and punish. Whereas archery means you can punish from a distance. Sometimes you can remain unseen and punish also. Therefore, Rudra is the unseen punishing aspect of higher power, and he holds on to the weapons of arrows. Now, once you say arrows, archery, the entire paraphernalia of archery walks in. So now you have arrows, you have a bow and a quiver to hold the arrows, and the arrows have a tail decorated with the feathers of different birds, and the arrows have a very sharp edge that pierces the flesh of the person being targeted. So all those aspects of the punishing are there. They are there. They come into the picture, and that is what we see here. We have seen already some of that, and some more of that is coming in these mantras. I think the rest of the Anuvaka will be devoted to this aspect of that higher power. For example, in this mantra before us, so we are talking of Dhanuhu. Kapardi is Rudraha. Rudra is the Kapardi. Why Rudra is the Kapardi? So you cannot say, once again, you should not say that Rudra is the same as Shiva sitting in Kailasa and he has matted hair for whatever reason. So if you describe like that, that becomes an attempt to understand the mantra from the descriptions given by Puranas. And the disadvantage associated with that we have already mentioned a few times. Therefore we avoid it. As far as possible we avoid it. So Rudra is Kapardi. The Kaparda, the matted hair, it can be visualized in two ways. One, look at the Himalayas or look at any mountain range. Assuming that the slopes of the mountains are not denuded by deforestation, you have to assume that. Then the slope is full of forests, and a very dense forest is sitting on the slope of the mountain, and you cannot enter the forest. It is not possible to penetrate the forest. Under that forest sitting on the mountain slope, and forest, one continuous cover of forest, that is the matted hair of Lord Shiva. Or the mass of rain-bearing clouds in the atmosphere, yonder above in the sky, that is the matted hair of Lord Shiva. Looking at Shiva as the cosmic person, so you have to understand it that way. But now you personify that higher power, then look at that higher power as a person, and now you have to say something about the person's hair. So matted hair is the hair is called matted very appropriately, I suppose. This is how the description Kapardi comes. In Pullinga it is Kapardin, Kapardahasya stiti. So Kapardinaha, that Lord Rudra, who has the matted hair, he holds a bow in his hands, Dhanuhu. Also, if Rudra is visualized as a person who lives in the forest, or a mountain person, a Pahadi, so these mountain people are these Vanavasi people, those who make a living in the forest, deep inside the forest. Probably you come across them, you may find them having unkempt hair, not like civilized people. Civilized people keep their hair in very good shape, they decorate it and all that. Nagarikaha. Whereas these Vanavasi people, Pahadi people, they may not care much for the hair, and therefore you find them with matted hair. That could be also, that way also you can visualize this description of Lord Rudra as having matted hair. And so Kapardinaha Dhanuhu, he has a bow in his hand. Now, how do we want that bow to be? Vijyam. This was said earlier. So the bow should be dysfunctional. It must be only a decorative piece. The cord or the string which makes the bow functional or operational, it is removed. You remove the cord. It is like a person is writing something, you remove the nib of that pen and then he will sit there. He cannot write one sentence anymore. So God cannot punish when the bow becomes it doesn't have that string. Vijyam dhanuhu. Then Lord has many arrows with him. Banavan, Uta and also. He has many arrows. But we want these arrows. He may keep these arrows because bow in hand, a quiver and a bunch of arrows sitting in the quiver, it all provides a very photogenic effect will be there. And so he may as well keep the arrows, but only one precaution. Just like the string is taken out of the bow, the piercing edge, the end of the arrow which pierces the target, this is called a shalya. It is like sharpnel. Shalya is like a sharpnel. Only sharpnel is not designed, whereas here the sharp edge is designed carefully. That is the only difference. That is the shalya. And so we wish that all these arrows he can keep, banavan, but vishalyaha. Those banas may not have any sharp edges, so that for decoration it looks nice, but we will avoid the punishment. Then what about the arrows? Asya ishavaha, same idea. Asya ishavaha aneshan. This Lord Rudra's arrows, they should become worthless or useless. They may not be able to perform their function. Aneshan, unable to perform their function, so that we will be spared of the punishment. Asya ishavaha aneshan. Then asya nishangatihi. So nishangatihi is abhurasya nishangatihi. Nishangatihi is, you see, Rudra seems to have a sword also. He carries a sword also. And then when he carries a sword, then he must have a sheath to keep the sword. Do they call it scabbard? Scabbard. So that scabbard he will have, and a sword inside. And that is the scabbard. And that also, it also abhuhu. Abhuhu means samarthaha, abhurastu, ishat prabhurastu. May the scabbard may have some of its function going on, not all of its function. What is the idea? Suppose you have a scabbard and there is the sword inside, and now pull out the sword off the scabbard and then hit the other guy, the enemy, with it, and then punish the other person, kill him or whatever, and then put back the sword into the scabbard. Is that right? So that is how it is done, right? All of that may not happen. Then what is the use of the scabbard? To put the sword. Then what is the function of the sword? To pull out and get hold of a photo and then put it back. That is abhu. Ishat prabhu. You see, bhu is the original verb. Pra is the upasarga. So you say prabhu, perfectly functional and capable to do its job. Abhuhu, pra you remove. A means yeshadarthe, a little. So it is like you may have a good pen, but not entirely useful. a little useful. Now, the pen entirely useful means you write with it a document and all that. A little useful means you put it in the pocket and everybody looks at you with a pen in the pocket, and that adds to the costume. So similarly, this scabbard, the sword inside, all of that must serve the purpose of costume only, and may that not be put to use against us, the devotees. Now the mantra is over. You can relate to the words as I say the mantra. Vijyandhanuh kapardino vishalyo banavagum uta. That is one sentence. Aneshannasyeshavaha, a second sentence. Abhurasya nishangatihi, the third sentence. So the same aspect of the punitive element of the higher power. The same thing is continuing in the next mantra also. Yate hetirmidhushtamahste babhuva te dhanuhu tayasman vishvatastvama yakshmaya paribhuja. The mantra sounds very simple. You can easily follow it. First, pay attention to the words. Ya te hetihi midhushtama haste babhuva te dhanuhu taya asman vishvatah tvam ayakshmaya paribhuja. So there is an address in the mantra, Midhushtama. Midhushtama. You see, you are looking at a cloud and address the cloud as Midhushtama. Means, oh, the cloud which gives a plentiful rain. Now, we are looking at the rain-bearing cloud as the manifest form of God, a benevolent form. So you address Ishvara or Rudra as abiding in the cloud mass and about to give us copious rainfall. That is the address. Hey Midhushtama. Means you should shower all blessings upon us. That is the address. Now, there seems to be a weapon in your hand. Te ya hetihi, haste. You hold a weapon in your hand. Now, what is the weapon in the hand? Could be a sword. And then you have a bow, te dhanuhu. Babhuva means bhavati. Okay? You are the one who showers blessings upon us. Then how come you are holding a sword in your hand? And how come you hold on to a bow also on your form? So, okay, keep them. Keep them. Only don't use them to punish us. Then why to keep? To benefit us, to bless us. Taya, asman, us. Taya, with that weapon. Heti is Strilinga Shabda. With that weapon. Don't say with that bow, because dhanuhu napumsakalinga Shabda. So with that weapon, you protect us. Asman, bhuja is protection. So dhatu bhuja palanabhyavaharayoho. Bhuja dhatu, bhuja. It means protect, one meaning, bhojanam, eating, another meaning. Some people take the eating meaning, bhuja. Now, you should not take eating meaning. There is one mantra, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjithaha. That bhunjithaha is bhuja rupam only. Bhuja only, it gets upadhanakara. And madhyama purusha ekavachanam bhunjithaha. Therefore, bhuja. So there, therefore, you eat like that. You enjoy. Eating finally ends up as enjoy. You enjoy. Give up something and you enjoy. So that meaning should not be given like that. Just because the dhatu has the meaning, you should not put that meaning into it. Suppose you give that meaning, then you know how it develops. you have to eat. Only thing is, first Naivedya karke, baad mein you first do Naivedyam and then go on eating. So it ends up like that. Therefore, Shankara, he doesn't give the meaning of bhojanam. He gives the meaning of palanam. Palayetha, you protect yourself. Now, how to protect myself? By tyaga. Tena tyaktena bhunjitha. Tyakta bhuta dhatvarthe, bhavarthe ktaha. Tyakta is not karmanik ktaha. Bhavarthe ktaha. Therefore, tyakta becomes a tyaga. Therefore, tyaga is the one which protects you. That is the meaning. You see how you just give the meaning, different meaning. Tyaga protects you. You becomes a mendicant and a renunciate and gain moksha. So you give up and eat. So do some Naivedyam and go on eating. So it gives a totally different picture. Therefore, just like in that mantra, that was a digression. Just the word bhuja took me there. But just like in that mantra, here also, bhuja is, dear Lord, please take, enjoy this. So the devotees seem to suggest, they prepare a dish and say, Lord likes this dish. How do you know Lord likes that dish? No, don't you know? Lord likes pongal? No, I don't know. How do you know? No, we all know Lord likes pongal. So, this is a kind of a wishful thinking. So anyway, don't go into all that. Bhuja, protect. Pari bhuja. Then bha gets doubled. Okay, dvitvam will come. And once dvitvam comes, bha becomes ba. Okay, pari bhuja. Protect from all sides. Okay, that weapon you are holding anyway in your hand, use that weapon to protect from all sides. Vishwataha tvam asman taya hetya vishwataha paribhuja. Protect in every respect from all sides. So, and so that weapon is further described as ayakshmaya. You see, the weapon of Lord Rudra is sickness. That is his weapon. That underlying sense you can find everywhere. So, yate rudrasya hetif parivo vrunaktu. The weapon of Rudra may keep itself away from you. That is the prayer with reference to the animals, the animal head, cows and other animals. That means the Rudra has a weapon. In fact, you can even say Rudra is the weapon which infects the animals. And then through the animals jumps into the human communities and infects and makes them sick. So this sickness which is due to infection, the infection could be bacterial or maybe of virus. It makes people sick. Suddenly the person falls sick. He picks up some infection. And that infection, that is in the experience of communities. And now, now there are two ways to approach this infection. One is understand the infection and try to find a mechanism or a medicine to treat the infection. That is one approach. When we cannot understand the infection, it remains unseen. You cannot see it. Especially in those days, the idea of bacterium was there somewhere unpronounced inside, but it is not categorically mentioned that there is a thing called bacterium. It is a thing that is unseen to the eyes and it makes us sick. These ideas, they did not crystallize clearly, but they are there. In a very suggestive way, they are there. So if I have to put one name to this bacterial and virus infections, the name that I prefer to give is Rudra. That is the kind of impression I get when I read through the mantras of this Rudradhyaya, not only here, elsewhere also. Wherever there is an infection, a sickness, Rudra walks in there. Therefore, Ayakshmaya, so Hetya, you have a weapon which is likely to cause sickness to us, but now you have to use the same weapon to protect us. Means what? You should not allow your weapon to make us sick. So don't visit us with the weapon in the form of sickness. Bless us with the weapon by keeping us away from all that sickness from all sides. This from all sides also is very significant in the sense that you can catch an infection anywhere, anytime. In an agrarian society where there is a human population is small, the flora and fauna is widespread all through the land, and in between there are human clusters here and there in small numbers. So the humans are now exposed to the vagaries of weather, the flora, the fauna, and so the unseen enemy, that is the infection, can come from any side. And therefore the prayer coming out of such an unfortunate, such a very painful experience. So, O Lord, please bless us with your blessings, shower us with your blessings. Please don't visit us with your weapon in the form of sickness. Convert that weapon into no sickness. Ayakshmaya Hetya, protect us. Every word is covered. Now you may be able to relate to the every word as I say the mantra. Yate hetirmidhushtama haste babhuvate dhanuhu tayasman vishvatastvama yakshmaya paribhuja. You see, strictly speaking, you may chant as tayasman vishvatastvama yakshmaya. You can chant like that. Nandva sanyukta akshara. But there is a scheme of chanting which is followed generation after generation, where they don't chant that Sanyukta Akshara as Sanyukta Akshara. They divide it and chant. Therefore they say N, Vi. So Tayasman Vishvatastvama Yakshmaya. Like that they chant. Why should they chant like that? That is how it is coming. There is no particular reason for it, except that it is the traditional way of chanting. Meaning is the same. Next mantra. Namaste astvayudhayana tataya dhrushnave ubhabhya mutate namo bahubhyan tavadhanvane. Very simple mantra. The entire point is already covered. Look at the words. Namaha te astu ayudhaya अनातताय धृष्णवे उभाभ्याम उता ते नमः बाहुभ्याम तवा धन्वने. Our obeisance unto your weapon, ayudhaya. Te ayudhaya namaha astu. May we pay obeisance to your weapon. What kind of weapon? Dhrushnave. I think Dhrushnave means very powerful weapon. It is capable of killing, it is capable of hurting. Dhrushnave. But now that capability is taken out. Why? Anatataya. That is the weapon. Suppose the weapon we are looking at is, say, the bow. Then the string is removed. Though it is a Dhrishnuhu, though it is capable of killing the enemy, now because very strong weapon, now because the string is removed, therefore it is merely a decoration piece only, and it cannot hurt us. So our obeisance to your such weapon. Namaste astvayudhaya natataya dhrushnave. Then a weapon itself, by itself, it won't hurt the target. It has to be held in the both hands and the arrow mounted and released. So our obeisance to both your hands also. Uta and ते उभाभ्याम बाहुभ्याम नमः. चतुर्थी विभक्ति. बाहुभ्याम bahave bahubhyam bahubhyah. I said that because it could be tritiya, it could be panchami. It is neither, it is chaturthi. How do you know? Because namaha. Whenever there is namaha, the other one, the one to which namaha is done, it gets a chaturthi vibhakti. There are a bunch of words which attract the fourth case. Namaswasti swaha alam Swadha alam vashat. Namaswasti swaha swadha alam vashat bhyascha. Is that the sutra? Something like that. So whenever these words you hear, Namaha swasti swaha swadha alam, very interesting. Alam also. Alam means enough. There you have to use chaturthi vibhakti. And vashat also chaturthi vibhakti. These are the words. Yoga, when they are united, not necessarily following or earlier, etc. When there is they are connected by syntax, by anvaya. There is connection only. The words need not appear one after the other. That kind of paratvam is not implied. That is the yoga, sambandha. So that's why always chaturthi vibhakti it is. That's why in mantras also you can see this. Om Namah Shivaya. Shivaya is chaturthi vibhakti. You don't have any other vibhakti. Everywhere Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All chaturthi vibhakti. Te uta and also te ubhabhyam bahubhyam namaha. And then paying obeisance to the bow also. Tava dhanvane namaha. Unto your bow, our namaskara. Dhanvan is same as dhanuhu. We have seen that. So the mantra is over. Namaste astva yudhayana tataya dhrashnave ubhabhya mutate namo bahubhyan tava dhanvane. Parite dhanvano heti rasman vranaktu vishvatah atho ya ishudhistavare asman nidhehi tam. That finishes the first anuvaka. That is the end of the anuvaka. Now this last mantra has nothing new subject matter. The same thing is continuing. So let us look at the padachedam. Parite dhanvanaha hetihi asman vranaktu Vishvatah atho yaha ishudhihi tava are asman nidhehi tam. Okay, look at this. Dhanvanaha hetihi, the weapon of the bow. That must be the arrow that is released from the bow. Your te dhanvanaha hetihi asman vishvataha parivrunaktu. Rudrasya hetif parivo vrunaktu. That prayer, very beginning of the Yajurveda. So that weapon of your bow should keep away from us in all respects. Vishvataha, or from every side. It is something like I am sitting in this community, in this house, and then I go out into the street and interact with the community people. Then I go out to the nearby woods, and then there are mountains around. So this weapon can come and hit from anywhere. This unseen enemy or unseen weapon, it can come from any direction. That is the experience. This like you take the corona virus is the Rudra, real Rudra, I tell you. From where will it come? I don't know. It can come from any direction. It can come through air, and then through food, through water. All those bacteria things will come later also. Therefore, this weapon of Lord Rudra, the weapon in the arrow and dhanus, arrow and bow are the metaphors. The weapon which is in the form of an infection, virus or bacteria, which is now metaphorically described as the arrow released by Rudra, that weapon may not target us from any side. That is the prayer. Parite dhanvano heti rasman vrunaktu vishvatah. Once again, asman. Not mam. Mamma asman navu. Mamma avam navu. Asman naha. Bahuvachanam. Community prayer. That is somewhat beautiful, you know. You see, instead of saying mama, better to say naha. When there are 5 or 6 people, sir, please give me a cup of coffee. Instead of saying that, better to say, maybe can you arrange a cup of coffee to all these good people? That includes me also, you know. That is the nice way of prayer. That's why this mama is not employed often. So, even in puja, etc., whenever you say mama, you should not stop at mama. You should follow it up immediately with the expression upatta durita kshayadvara. There only mama. I have some blemishes in me, I should get rid of them. That is where you should use the word me and mine. Except that, in all other occasions, you should include yourself. That inclusive nature, you should include yourself. Family is there. You should include yourself in the family. You should not try to stand apart from the family. So what am I getting from this family? That is the way of standing apart. You stand apart, what am I getting? No, you don't stand apart. You include yourself. Then what am I getting will disappear. What can I do to everybody else? That becomes the inclusiveness. Therefore, in the prayers, we should pray in an inclusive way. Suppose I pray, oh Rudra, may I not get infection. So I alone should not get infection. I don't care whether the whole community gets infection. Then what will happen? I will also get infection. It is like my house should not catch fire. Suppose that is the prayer. Suppose then every other house catches fire. Then what will happen to my house? It will also catch fire. Therefore, there is no wisdom in personalized prayer. There is only wisdom in community prayer. It is so particularly when the prayer is coming out of a sense of fear. When it is coming out of a sense of fear, instead of fearing for yourself entirely, you fear on behalf of the entire community. So I am sitting here, oh Ishvara, make me, you don't hit me with this virus. Like that, instead of praying like that, at least minimum prayer should be, oh Ishvara, I am staying in this apartment and our apartment should be free from corona infection. That is a better prayer. Thoda expansion should be there. Therefore, when you look at this prayer, when you notice that it is coming out of a sense of fear, that is a minus point of the prayer, but you can convert this minus point to a plus point by making it community prayer. That is the beauty. That is how I notice it. In all the Veda mantras, the community prayer is highlighted. That doesn't mean there are no personal prayers. You may find some of the personal prayers also here and there. Generally, when the prayer comes from a sense of possessing wealth and giving it to people, then maybe you can put the singular. Mama Agne Varcho Vihavesh Vastu He Agne. So the effulgence of you may uplift me, something like that. Such prayer you can use mama. Chamakam we will see, but where you are seeking something to uplift yourself, you can use mama. where you are seeking something to safeguard yourself, then make it plural, asman. So the idea is personally you should grow into spirituality. At the same time, you should allow your personality to merge in the whole. Prayers should reflect this vision of spirituality. Prayers should not become very narrow, petty-minded kind of a personality. They should not become supportive of such a personality which is very narrow and very petty-minded. That kind of prayer, oh God, my enemy should face all kinds of difficulties. That kind of prayer, we should avoid them. And you should see the meaning and drop that prayer. Many of those prayers are added prayers. They are not original. Somehow, original prayers are community prayers. Shanno mitrashyam varunaha. Naha, it is always Naha. Then let us finish the mantra. There was a small digression. Atho and also, Atha and Atho, Uta, Uto, they are same. Tava Yaha Ishudhihi. That quiver, which has many weapons. You see, the Lord Rudra seems to have a galaxy of weapons. Gram-negative bacteria, gram-positive bacteria, and then viruses, and then fungus. So many weapons he seems to have. No surprise we are talking of an Ishuddhi to hold all these weapons. And so that quiver which holds all these weapons, tam nidhehi, you keep it at a safe distance, away from us. Asman are. Asmat are, not Asman, sorry. Asmat are. At a good distance, away from us. Okay? Asmattaha are dure. At a good distance, away from us, keep this quiver, which seems to have many weapons. Staphylococcus, E. coli, so many weapons it seems to have. Keep away from us. I am looking at the Tikakara, the Are Dure, that is enough, that is enough. But the Tikakara, somehow, I am unable to relate with this kind of a description. The Tikakara, having given a meaning which nicely fits there, he could stop there. But he is anxious to pull out one more meaning. And what is that meaning? Ari is enemy. Therefore, Are. Now connect Are to Ari. It doesn't connect readily. Somehow manage to connect it. That to Veda mantra. You can say Vaidika Prayogaha. It may not fit into Panini's rules. Therefore, all these weapons which you have, use them against our enemies. Now, why that meaning? So, that shows a sense of a prayer in which all kinds of blessings are sought for oneself, and all sorts of punishments have to visit my enemy. My enemy should be destroyed and I should prosper. That kind of a prayer in which you have all focus on the little self, that small little petty self, seeking all blessings to itself, and at the same time seeking to visit punishment to the enemy. The God should punish the enemy. And who is the enemy? Such and such is my enemy. God should punish. Why God should punish? You go and punish. No, he is unable to go and punish. He cannot punish the other person. He doesn't have the power and wherewithal to punish the other person. Therefore, turn towards God and pray to God to punish others. Now, what is that? Is it? It is certainly not. It doesn't fit into spirituality. It certainly doesn't fit into spirituality. Now, there is another thing called religiosity. Now, I am asking whether it fits into religiosity even. Should the religion be pursued in that direction? That I pray to God in order to hurt the enemy, and then there are rituals which are entirely aimed at hurting the enemy. So the prayers, all these prayers have to be looked into. A prayer which seeks benefits for oneself itself has to be examined. You may want to replace the me with us. That is better. And then praying in order to hurt the enemy. First you have to define the enemy. You must have an enemy in your mind. Then you have a desire to hurt the enemy. That also is questionable. We should try to put it aside. But then if you find it in the mantra anywhere, there is a way out. The religious thing should be converted into spiritual. You cannot just go on chanting whatever you know. There is a way out. Just I am offering you a way out. The way out is, the enemies here or anywhere for that matter are only the Shadvarga, Ari-Shat-Varga. The group of 6 enemies, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Therefore, O Lord, use all your weapons to destroy these internal enemies. That way you have to look at it. Preferably you avoid it. This enemy thing you avoid. Don't enter into it, not necessary. The mantra need not bring in the enemy. Are, dure, that is perfect. Arat is avyayam. Arat means near as well as far. So are, arat, dure, that is enough. You need not go into enemies and all that. Once you make a commentary like that, then we have to struggle to explain it and to make it more benign. Otherwise it sounds very malicious. So this is a comment which I made upon the commentary itself. So I now say the mantra, Parite dhanvano hetirasman vranaktu vishvatah athoya ishudhistavare asman nidhehi tam. Prathama Anuvaka completed. Now we come to second Anuvaka, which has an entirely different structure. Under the Anuvaka, this is second Anuvaka, which begins as Namo Hiranyabahave, then comes Namah Sahamanaya, then comes Nama Avyadhini Ibhyaha, 3 of them. These 3 Anuvakas, they are bunched together and categorized as Ubhayato Namaskara. The mantra, which is a Yajur mantra, means a prose mantra, not a verse mantra, is a sentence mantra. It begins with a Namaha and ends with a Namaha. Therefore, Ubhayato Namaskara. That is the type of mantra. Okay? And now we come across a bunch of these Ubhayato Namaskaras. So Namaha begins, Namaha ends. But then in the chant, it continues and it picks up. The first Namaskara is attached to the second, like protein synthesis. In protein synthesis, the carboxyl group is there, amino group is there. The amino group is connected to the carboxyl group of next molecule, and that leaves another amino group that is again connected to the carboxylic molecule, carboxylic function of another molecule. Like that the protein chain goes on and on and on. Similarly, one Ubhayato Namaskara, attach it to second Ubhayato Namaskara, attach it to third Ubhayato Namaskara. Like that the whole Anuvaka continues. So what I am going to do is, first I will recite the whole Anuvaka. You just listen to it. Then I will break it down to Ubhayato Namaskara pieces. Like protein is broken down into separate amino acids. and then each Ubhayato Namaskara you examine. Eventually we will reach the end of the Anuvaka. Then recite the entire Anuvaka one more time. That is the scheme. Om Namo Hiranyabahave Senanye Dishancha Pataye Namo Namo Vrukshebhyo Harikeshebhyo Pashunam Pataye Namo Namasaspinjarayat Vishimate Pathinam Pataye Namo Namo Babhlushaya Vivyadhine Nanam Pataye Namo Namo Harikeshayopavitine Pushtanam Pataye Namo Namo Bhavasya Hetyai Jagatam Pataye Namo Namo Rudraya Tatavine Kshetranam Pataye Namo Namo Sutaya Hantyaya Vananam Pataye Namo Namo Rohitaya Sthapataye Vrukshanam Pataye Namo Namo Mantrine Vanijaya Kakshanam Pataye Namo Namo Bhuvantaye Varivaskrutaya Ushadhinam Pataye Namo Nama Uchair Ghoshaya Krandayate Pattinam Pataye Namo Namah Kratsna Vitaya Dhavate Satvanam Pataye Namaha Namasahamanaya Nivyadhine. That is the next Anuvaka. That is the Anuvaka. You can see a series of Ubhayato Namaskaras stitched together. The first Ubhayato Namaskara. Namo Hiranyabahave Senanye Dishancha Pataye Namaha. Then it's a word by word Cheda, Padacheda. Namaha Hiranyabahave Senanye Disham Cha Pataye Namaha. That is the mantra. Starts as Namaha and ends as Namaha. Now, coming to the structure of the mantra is now totally different compared with the riks that we have seen earlier. Even the subject matter is different. Now, if you look at the first Anuvaka, it is mostly propitiating Lord Rudra in his punitive aspect, mostly. However, in between, we have seen at least two mantras which are very similar to Gayatri mantra. Aditya Hridaya, they remind you of Aditya Hridayam. The reality which abides in the solar orb abides in your heart. That is the Aditya Hridayam. So that kind of mantras, two of them we have seen. So that is the rest of it is the punitive aspect of Lord Rudra. So that is the Anuvaka. Now this second Anuvaka and the following Anuvakas, they bring out a different aspect of Rudra. These Anuvakas can be called Vishwarupa Anuvakas. Like in Bhagavad Gita we have Vishwarupa Sandarshana Yoga, the 11th chapter, where we are introduced to the universal aspect of the Lord, Vishwarupa. The idea is like this. You have to get hold of that idea because that is very Vedantic. If you go into the nitty-gritty of the religion, you don't find this idea. If you go to the very basic religion, the God is somewhere in the heaven, above. Heaven or heavens or whatever. Vaikuntha or Kailasa, and they add further abodes, further like that. You increase a little. This you can increase. Just a little. Om. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Is it too much? It's okay? Okay. So, in the religion, in its very basic elements, posits the God. It gives a form to the God and then gives a location to the God. Therefore, God is like a big uncle. Puja Swamiji used to say it in a very dramatic way, in a very expressive way. I very much caught hold of it. It has attracted my attention. Namely, my paternal uncle is in New Delhi, my maternal uncle is in New York, my father is in Hyderabad, and my grandfather is in Texas, Dallas. God is in Vaikuntha. He used to recite like that. So that is the spirit, that is the general idea that the basic religious vision conveys. Now, that idea, you may start the religious life with that idea, but better you rise above that idea as soon as you can. You have to reach a point where God is everywhere, or even better, everywhere is God. The space is an expression of God. The time is an expression of God. If you take out space and time from the universe, what is left now? Matter. Matter is also an expression of God. This is called Vishwarupa. That is what is introduced to the students of Gita in the 11th chapter. It was introduced that way. You have to understand the descriptions with that spirit. A similar Vishwarupa Sandarshanam is being presented in these mantras. So, the different things which are collected, it seems like a motley collection, like a group of people on the platform. They don't have anything in common except that they are waiting for a train on a platform. Similarly, these words which are collected and made into prayer, they don't have anything interconnection, they don't have anything in common, need not have anything in common. Somewhere, in some places, some common point may be there. They are there together only because of that Anuvaka. They are part of one Anuvaka, like they are all standing on one platform, something like that. Other than that, you may not find any connection. Or you may find some connection here and there. But all put together, this entire motley crowd of descriptions put together, conveys one unified vision of the Lord's Vishwarupa. Okay? In that sense, this has relevance to Vedanta. It is connected to Vishwarupa Sandarshana Yoga of the Bhagavad Gita, and of course it connects to Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma vision of the Vedanta. Now, Namo Hiranyabahave, so that is the mantra. So, my prayer unto Lord Rudra, it continues, Namaha, my obeisance or prayer to Lord Rudra. Now, a description of Lord Rudra, how Hiranyabahave. Here, you can say Lord Rudra in three different forms. Hiranyabahu, Senani, Dishampatihi. In three different forms, Lord Rudra is being presented. You can say that. The Tikakaras, they make it to two. Hiranyabahu becomes an attribute to Senani. Then it becomes two. Now you make Hiranyabahu and Senani both attribute to Dishampati, it becomes one also. I don't think all that is necessary, because we are looking at the Vishwarupa aspect of Lord Rudra. We look at all the three separate. That is better. I prefer it that way. Hiranyabahu. So Rudra is Hiranyabahu. Bahu means hands. So like in Gita you say Mahabaho. Means, O Arjuna with mighty arms. Similarly, O Lord Rudra with arms or hands decorated with gold. That is the Tikakara. So the Tikakaras are very much enamored, are impressed by gold, I suppose. Everybody wants gold. A young lady wants gold, I can understand. Why the devotee praying to Lord Rudra think of gold? What is gold that? What will you do with the gold anyway? Therefore, this gold thing, I don't relate to it that way. I am not interested in it. In fact, wherever you see the word Hiranya, you need not call it gold. Tejo vai Hiranyam, you can say like that. That mantra is there. They change that mantra also. Tejo vai Hiranyam. Hiranyam means effulgence. That is the meaning. But what they say, gold is effulgent. So that also you pull it to gold. Not necessary. Hiranya Bahave. O Lord, with arms decorated with golden ornaments. Do you like that? If you like it, God bless you, keep it. But I prefer, O Lord, with effulgent arms. What is the effulgence of the arms? Strength, power of the arms. Like Mahabaho. That way, that is one way of looking at that expression. Hiranya Bahave Namaha. Abharanani Bhavoho, that I am not impressed by that meaning. There is another Tikakara. He moved away from gold. So, Hiranya Sadrusha Bahave, effulgent arms, the one with effulgent arms. Then he uses some Nairukta technique. Hitancha Ramaniyancha Tadhiranyam. I felt it's a bit stretching too far, stretching the word too far. Okay? Some people do that, which is not acceptable. Like Agnimide, Rigveda begins as Agnimide. A is Vishwa. Ga is like that they start. Na. And they start giving meaning like that. That is against the very spirit of Veda mantras. You should not do like that. The word Agni you have to look at. You should not look at syllables A, Ga, Na and start giving meaning to them. This kind of this syllable buddhi and call them bijaksharas, seed syllables, etc. You call it seed syllable so that you can imagine anything out of that syllable. So this goes out of the normally accepted understanding of the words, the language, literature, etc. I do not subscribe to that. Therefore, Hitancha Ramaniyancha is not very convincing to me. That is all about it. Just like in Gita, Shri Krishna addresses Arjuna, O Mahabaho, He Mahabaho. Similarly, here the devotee addresses Ishvara, O Lord of mighty arms, or effulgent arms. So this entire, these directions, east and west, are your effulgent arms only. And so we prostrate unto such you. Namo Hiranya Bahave. Then Senanye. You see, Rudra comes as the army chief. You have to correctly get it. Maybe I have to explain it correctly. So wherever you come across an army chief or a person commanding a group of soldiers, wherever, there is Rudra in that person. The element of Rudra has already entered him. Because what is he going to do now? He is commanding a group of soldiers. He is the chief of the battalion. What is he going to do? He is going to occupy, push ahead, and any obstacle you destroy it. That is what he is going to do. That Senani, Senam Nayati, iti Senani, represents the destructive aspect. That is what Senani is. Wherever you find destruction, that is Lord Rudra. Therefore, people don't be a peacemonger. There cannot be total peace in this world. There is peace and there is war. The world is like that. Since day one, since the moment of creation, it is like that. and it will be like that till the moment of annihilation. The world plots on. There are wars, then there is peace. A small gap between wars is the peace, and again there are wars, and wars are conducted by the army chiefs. And in every army chief, Lord Rudra is sitting. Lord Rudra is the chief of army of the German forces that invaded USSR, and Lord Rudra is the chief of army of Stalin, who gave a tough fight, and in the process 20 million lives were lost, or even more. Such enormous destruction. An entire mass of humanity is destroyed in World War II. And all this destruction was wrought by these army chiefs, the commanders, the battalion chiefs, and then the generals, the field marshals. Every one of them, in spite of their good-looking dress and all that, they have the element of Rudra in them. Rudra is sitting in them. They don't know that. Rudra is sitting in them. Rudra has entered Ashwatthama in the story of Mahabharata. Then only Ashwatthama went and he has slain an entire army while they were sleeping. He was just slaying them and killing them, and he has almost kind of like a genocide he has done in one night. All that he himself was surprised. So much destruction I have done. How could I do? Because Rudra is in him. That is the Senanya. Therefore, wherever you find a Senani, understand that Rudra is sitting in him and creating havoc among human groups. Then Dishancha Pataye Namaha. We will finish this mantra. The one who protects all the directions. This is the protective aspect. Now, Dikpati, you know, Dikpalakas, Dikpatis, you can look at it that way also. Some Puranic element you can bring in. So, the east is presided over by Indra, and my prostration unto Indra. The west by Varuna, my prostration unto Varuna. The north by Ishana. Ishanya is Ishana. So the north presided over by another god, my prostration unto him. The south by Yamadharma Raja, my prostration unto Yama. So, or you can say north by Shiva himself. So prostration unto Shiva. So you can make it further breaks also, make it 8 directions. And for every direction, Vayavya, Vayu is the Devata, Agneya, Agni is the Devata, Ishanya, Ishana is the Devata. So all these Devatas, 8 of them, Ashtadikpalakas, my prostrations unto them. Namo Hiranyabahave Senanye Dishancha Pataye Namaha. Namo Vrukshebhyo Harikeshebhyo Pashunam Pataye Namaha. That mantra we will see in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.